It's great to be here at SUSECON 22. I am really excited to share this information with you. I had a session last year that was pretty similar, and really not a whole lot's changed. We do have a new operating system, new service pack that came out, updates, of course, to SUSE Rancher and SUSE Manager. But today it's all about deploying Kubernetes to the edge with SUSE Manager and SUSE Rancher. My name is Cameron Seader, and I am a director of technical sales. And I've been with SUSE for 17 years. You may have seen me speaking at SUSECON before. I've spoken at SUSECON several times in the past, and you may have seen me at Demopalooza, some of the closing keynote stuff that I've done in the past as well. So I've got a wealth of knowledge coming from other emerging technologies like Ceph, storage, OpenStack, um, and pre-Rancher, we had our container as a service platform, which I also did some work on there as well. So I have a wealth of knowledge to bring to you today. Um, so why auto deploy on the edge? Well, there's some things that you need to do. Looking at the edge platforms sometimes are either not really connected to um, an enterprise infrastructure, or your enterprise infrastructure might not be really close to you. So there might not be a way to really manage that. It could be out at a cell tower. It could be a substation for a power company. It could be something that's like a small satellite data center, or even a store, for example. Those are all good examples of an edge type data center. And what you have to keep in mind there is that those particular environments could also have uh, technology there that might be old. And maybe you want to use that technology still there and keep it running, um, and utilize it to the fullest extent. Um, but you are challenged with a couple of things in that you have to get an operating system deployed. Maybe there's somebody not there locally, and that you can't get somebody out there really easily to patch and update, that kind of thing. So that can be a challenge. Um, so really, in edge deployment, you need to be able to kind of help maintain itself. It needs to be able to do some self healing. It needs to be able to um, do some patching either remotely or for itself. Um, there's some interesting technologies at SUSE that help enable some of this. Um, so deploying K3S in an automatic fashion to the edge really becomes quite an advantage, because now you have the option, once you do have Kubernetes up and running at the edge, you have the option to now start installing applications that run on Kubernetes. And your application delivery becomes much easier. And you can either do that over the air, or you can have a content delivery that's going to a registry on the edge, either behind a firewall or something, or some sort of fashion that way. Um, but you also have managing deployment of applications, VMs or containers. You might have multiple types of setups there at the edge. Uh, and there's other tools that we have that can help manage that as well. We have Harvester. We also have SUSE Manager with virtual machine management built in. You also might want to do, security scans, both from the OS perspective and for your other architecture that's both Kubernetes. Maybe it's your container registry that's out there as well. You need to be able to scan images, scan your registries, and make sure that those are up to date and not posing any type of vulnerability to the environment. You also need the ability to schedule this at any point in time. Schedule it at a future date. Maybe you have a particular outage time frame that you like to adhere to. Um, Another part in this whole auto deployment to the edge is managing images. You might have an operating system image that you need to manage and maintain, and that becomes really critical, especially if you're constantly, creating your own images and, putting overlaid software into that image. That can be a daunting task in order to just manage and maintain that itself. And so having something to, automatically maintain that particular image as a what we call a golden image um, gives you the ability to take a step back and save some time if you're adhering to a particular process, and it can be all automated. And then, of course, looking at scale. How do I scale this, right? You don't want to go, when you talk about edge, it's not just one location. It's typically, you know, tens to hundreds to thousands of various locations around the globe. And so you need to be able to scale this. So good reason to automate or auto deploy to the edge. So some of the core design components that have been used in this particular solution are SUSE Manager as a salt master. And of course, for the operating system, we've been using SLES 15, Service Pack 2, and Service Pack 3. This has also been tested with. We've had to make some changes to the images, but that all works. We have the SLE build host, which is virtual machine image building. So that's actually tied into SUSE Manager. So you install a separate operating system host that provides you with this functionality to create virtual machine images. You can also do containers as well, but most people typically find it cumbersome to integrate within their CI/CD pipeline. Um, there's also the ability to use the hypervisor, KVM, as a server in this particular edge, as this particular edge component. Now, you don't have to install KVM, but in this particular case, we're actually installing a Kubernetes cluster virtualized on this edge platform. You can do it bare metal as well. There's no reason why you shouldn't. If you need that kind of, the extra horsepower, the CPU and memory in order to run your applications that are running at the edge, then it might be advisable to run it on a bare metal machine. Maybe you've got a number of different bare metal systems that you have available at the edge. There's also the Rancher server, which provides your Kubernetes management. And then, of course, the Longhorn is going to give you that persistent storage capabilities. And then we have K3S, which is the Kubernetes layer. K3S is that lightweight Kubernetes distribution. It's a single binary that allows you to deploy Kubernetes really quickly. Now, it's also good for development environments as well. Um, so there are some other sessions at SUSECON 22 that do talk about K3S and some of these other technologies that I've talked about here that are part of this core design components. There's also some design diagrams that I put together here to help narrow this down and give you a bigger picture, to help you understand really what's going on here. So on the left-hand side, we have the data center or maybe a cloud environment that's providing this connection to either a SUSE Rancher server or the SUSE Manager server. That type of infrastructure can be running in a data center or the cloud. Either way will work. And then you have your edge components, right? All of those components that we just talked about, your K3S, your Longhorn, sitting on top of a virtualized environment, KVM. In this case, the diagram has SLES 15 Service Pack 2. But it also works with Service Pack 3. It'll also work with Service Pack 4 that is coming out. But this actually provides this connection between your edge environment. Now, this edge environment could be running in a truck, it could be running in a store, what have you. It could be running anywhere, right? The point is that we have this connection to help us manage and maintain this environment, and that is with the SUSE Rancher server and the SUSE Manager server. So, an alternative here with K3s installed on the KVM host. So if you don't actually utilize the virtual machine environment, so let's say you don't want to have KVM in the picture for your Kubernetes environment, you could essentially run K3s directly on that KVM host, and you'd have the option to run KVM and your Kubernetes side by side on that same host. This will also work. This is also pretty analogous to Harvester as well. So I would urge you to take a look at any of those sessions out there on SUSECON 22 around Harvester and the architecture, and just to give you an understanding of what that's actually doing. It actually uses KubeVirt, which is a little different technology here. This could give you a lighter weight option here if you're deploying at the edge and you don't have a lot of resources to work with. So some of the data center elements. So I talked about SUSE Manager and SUSE Rancher, and there are different components that are part of this environment. So SUSE Manager is the salt master. So it has salt configuration management built into it, and it provides patch and update lifecycle of the deployed Linux operating system. So that operating system that's deployed at the edge, or any of your edge devices, it could be any number of them, it will manage the full life cycle of patches and updates for that operating system. It also does life cycle management for your images. So it will recognize when there are patches available, and it will also tell you that your image is out of date. If a patch becomes available, it will tell you that. And that's important because you don't have to go out and use some external tool to rebuild your image. It's just a click of a button. So you press the button to rebuild, and it will go out to that build host that I was referring to earlier, and it will rebuild that image for you. And it uses Kiwi image building tools to be able to accomplish that. And then it publishes that information back to the SUSE Manager server. Another capability that's built into SUSE Manager that's really important is the auditing and the monitoring of the environment. So once an image is deployed at the edge, you can attach monitoring and auditing capabilities to it. And this all happens in an automatic fashion. And what's used for that is Prometheus and Grafana. So once that's all tied in and automated at the edge, you then get those metrics that you can report on a hourly, minute by minute basis of the environment. So that's really great for troubleshooting. It's great to understand what's going on in the environment, and whether or not you have any processes that are kind of running away, utilizing up some of your resources that are there at the edge. There's also the ability to do virtual machine host management. It's not necessary if you don't want to use it that way, but it does give you a lightweight capability of managing the virtual machines at the edge. So it can be a good option if you need something that's lightweight and it's not VMware, and you don't want to incur the extra cost of utilizing VMware at the edge. That can be a good option for you. We also have an automation framework that is built right in, and it will help you to automate an installation of K3s. And this is using Salt directly. We have some Salt configuration that we set up for this that will allow you to do the automation. We have the creation register of the Rancher cluster itself, which uses a specialized script to do that. And then we have the automation of the Prometheus exporter to tie in all that monitoring capability. From the SUSE Rancher side, with the Rancher server, you then get the multi-cluster Kubernetes management. So if you have more than one cluster at the edge, you can manage multiple edge clusters using the dashboard in SUSE Rancher. It also will be able to handle all the Kubernetes upgrades from a single pane of glass, so you don't have to um, go out to that cluster, connect to it, and execute a Kubernetes upgrade from the host systems itself. So that's all handled from the SUSE Rancher side. It also has, in addition, if you'd like to use it, is the GitOps application lifecycle, and which is Fleet, which gives you the ability to actually deploy your application stack to multiple edge deployments. So that can be really powerful in a sense that if you do have tens to hundreds of edge deployments out there, managing and maintaining a single configuration across all of them could be potentially really hard. And so this gives you the ability to manage and maintain that configuration using Fleet from a single tool, and you push that out to all of your edge locations. It also does provide monitoring and logging of those applications. So all of the underlying Kubernetes components, and that is all tied in with Prometheus and Grafana as well. So digging deeper into how the image gets created, it's a pretty simple process. This is a diagram that outlines the entire flow. So sitting at the data center where you have the SUSE Manager server and the SUSE Linux Enterprise build host that is utilized for building images, you create a Kiwi build template. That template points to a YAML file that is typically out in GitHub. So you point to a GitHub source repository that has that YAML file in it, and then you build the image utilizing that build template. Once the image is finished building on the build host itself, it then gets republished back onto the SUSE Manager server. And it puts that into this location, this URL, which is the SUSE Manager server host URL, and then /os images /1, which is the organization, / and then the image name, which is the QCOW2 file. So once that's complete, you can then deploy that image at the edge. And you can do that with several different methods. And some, organizations will prefer different things. But you could PXE boot it, PXE boot the virtual machine. You can install it via USB thumb drive. You can install it directly as an image deployment directly from SUSE Manager as well. Once that process is initiated, you then activate the image on the initial installation. And then once it's activated back to SUSE Manager and recognizes that it's a new device, it will then execute some salt states. It will bring in the hardware configuration, the software configuration, what's installed on that image, and then it will begin executing other salt states to auto install K3s. So we're installing Kubernetes with it. And then it will auto create and register the Rancher cluster, and then auto install the Prometheus exporter. So monitoring is all taken care of. So once all these steps are completed, you will then have, as a result, a deployed instances and images fully manageable by SUSE Manager. You'll have automation to add more nodes as needed, and you'll have a Kubernetes cluster immediately managed by SUSE Rancher. So that's actually really powerful. all in one fell swoop. If you take the effort to do all the configuration tasks, it's completely automated for you from then on out. And you can automate this to multiple locations if you have tens to hundreds of thousands of additional edge locations that you're taking care of. Now, I do have a GitHub project space out on GitHub/SUSE Manager Rancher Auto, where you can either make contributions, open issues if you do see some problems, but it does have some basic documentation to help walk you through the setup there. I would also urge you to look at other SUSECON 22 sessions. There's a lot of good ones out there. There really is over 100 plus sessions around edge and container management that can help you get started. If you are coming to this session and don't know a whole lot about K3S, or you don't know a whole lot about SUSE Rancher, there's some great sessions on that from beginner level to intermediate to expert. So check it out. Go to susecon.com/sessions, and you'll find that information there. Thank you for joining with me today, and I will be available in the chat just afterwards, after this video shows, and we'll be able to take any questions and answer anything that you need here. Thank you.